All right, Dave Wyman just had the Seahawks preseason start. Who was your biggest star coming out of the opener?
I'm going to have to go with Boye Mafe. He really had a good game. He actually, I think he missed a sack that he could have had. And there was a lot of that, by the way. There was a lot of missed tackles, and you've got young guys out there. They haven't gone full speed in practice as much as other teams. But yeah, Mafe, and the one sack he had, he actually forced a fumble that they got back, but the one where he had to chase the quarterback out of the pocket, I think it was Pickett, just looked fantastic. I saw him on a kickoff return, I believe it was, and he was kind of lost there. And the reason why I bring that up is because for a lot of these guys that are superstars, I always said this about running backs, like a running back is not going to be a very good blocker. If you chose him in the draft, he was either, being thrown the ball or being, handed the ball. I mean, they don't do a lot of blocking. So I'm thinking Boye Mafe probably hasn't played special teams since high school. So, he looked a little bit out of sorts there, but I just noticed that because I wanted to bring that point up, but he was phenomenal off the edge. And, I thought the difference, you look at Darrell Taylor, and he was last year a really good pass rusher for the Seahawks, but he was a little bit raw, whereas Boye Mafe looked like he had big league moves, like he was beating, these tackles pretty handily. So I thought he was probably, him and Miles Adams, the defensive tackle, number 95, he had a really good game, knocked down a pass, he had a couple sacks, quarterback hits, things like that. So I think those two guys really stood out, and I'm not even talking about the quarterback position, because those two guys really, Drew Lock was 73% completion percentage, and then, he blew it at the end, which we'll talk about later, but I thought him and Gino, the one frustrating thing is that nothing got resolved. I thought they both looked really good, but there was a couple of plays that like the Drew Lock sack where you can get better, but I thought those two guys really made it, they kind of muddied the water. I mean, it's not like either one was more dominant than the other.
Well, let's stick with the QBs for a second. Can you explain why the sack on Drew Lock and then the fumble was such a big deal?
Yeah, just because, and I got a chance to talk to a couple of the coaches, that was a really easy read for him, and that it was very basic, and the fact, that he missed it just kind of speaks to his inexperience. So, it was interesting because I think a lot of people might think it was the running back. The running back released on that play, and it was out in the route, and went right past the rusher who was on the end of the line there. But according to people that would know better, it was on Drew Lock, and that's a lot of times offensive line gets blamed for that, and a lot of times it's either the running backs, sometimes the tight ends that need to stay in and block, and on that one, that was on him. Like that guy's coming free, so he could have dumped the ball to the running back who released, right over his head there.
Do you have any big concerns after what you saw on Saturday?
Yeah, I guess I think this will get fixed, but if you've watched Hard Knocks, you see how the Detroit Lions are playing. They're practicing hard. Their coach actually apologized to them after one of the practices. He's like, we have to do it this way. But I mean, they'll get it down by the end of preseason, but there hasn't been a lot of contact out at practice. And when you go full speed and you're tackling guys to the ground in practice, that translates over into the game. And you can see that the Seahawks have not been doing that. And so maybe they need to ramp that up a little bit and just go full speed. There's nothing like going full speed. I mean, I don't care what you say when you get into practice, if it's like what we used to call thud tempo, which means, you're attacking the blockers, but you're tackling and you're not taking the running back down to the ground. And you saw a lot of missed tackles. So I think that probably something they might either address in practice or just, be more mindful of some of the missed tackles they had.
So this was the first chance for a lot of people to see the 3-4 defense as opposed to a 4-3 front. Is it going to work?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, look, I've played in both of those. It's just a matter of assignment, and there was a lot of assignments that looked like that were blown. I think 3-4, the whole NFL is kind of going that way. It used to be 50-50, and I think it's more like 75-25 now. And you get more athletes on the field with the 3-4. You have 3 big linemen, and then you've got a couple of outside backers that are athletic. But also, I know on the 2 years that we played the 3-4 here in Seattle, we got run on. It's not great against the run. It's much better for against the pass, and that's the way the NFL is going right now. But yeah, it's the same thing. Everybody has a gap. Every gap's accounted for. It's just that you're in a different alignment. The thing I noticed was that they used nickel quite a bit. They had 5 defensive backs out on the field, and a lot of times they had just 2 defensive linemen and 2 outside backers. So yeah, they're trying to get the best players on the field, which I'm all for. Even though Justin Coleman had kind of a rough game, he's a good nickel cornerback, and you can get those guys out on the field more athletic. They're going to be much better against the pass, and that's really the big focus this year. Is that you have to be better against the pass. They were number 31 the last 2 years, and I know Sean Desai and Carl Scott and Clint Hurt, the coaches, are really mindful of that. And we saw some things to like in the pass game, but yeah, I don't think it was anything terribly obvious to most fans that this is definitely a 3-4 versus the 4-3. It's just different personnel out on the field.